Ellison goes out of his way to establish the identity of these individuals as veterans because he's making a connection with the grandfather. He says something else. Very interesting about what the golden day is and what it represents. We already know that it represents for him a particular kind of enlightenment. He doesn't know this. He'll know this in retrospect, that was his inflection point of enlightenment. And what does he say? What does Ellison say about the golden day as it relates to the local white folks? He says, the school tried to make the golden day respectable. The school, the institution, the other black folk. They want to make it respectable. They're not trying to destroy it, but they want to make it respectable, right? They want to keep order, which is why supercargo is in there. But the local white folks had a hand in it, and somehow it got nowhere. This reminds us of the Battle Royale, where the local white folks, once again, are engaged in the entertainment of segregation. Yes, these men are crazy, but in the golden day. But he comes out enlightened. Are the local white folks attempting to ensure that other young African Americans are not infected with that kind of enlightenment? Probably so. It is that kind of enlightenment that actually creates the Black Power movement. It is that kind of enlightenment that actually creates Black Lives Matter. It is that kind of enlightenment that establishes the notion of self-defined, self-determined Black power. All right. Another interesting aspect that Ellison establishes, he says, I could never believe that they were really patients, talking about the vets. Sometimes it appeared as though they played some vast and complicated game with me and the rest of the school folks, a game whose goal was laughter and whose rules and subtleties I could never grasp. My friends, this is everything. That one line, it's everything, because what he is talking about is signifying, this game of verbal battle. I've given you a ton of notes on this. I won't be able to get to all of them, but I've left them for you. So signifying, this game that he references in the text, this game that they're playing, refers to a complex form of communication that involves indirect expression, often using irony, metaphor, and wordplay. There are two forms of signifying. Playing the dozens, for instance, your mama joke. Your mama sent her picture to the Lonely Hearts Club, but they sent it back and said, we ain't that lonely. And number two, trading 12s. Change the joke to slip the yoke. It is a transfer of knowledge from one generation to another. Signifying is verbal communion with allies and verbal combat with enemies. Again, verbal communion with allies and verbal combat with enemies. So we see in the scene that these individuals are making jokes in verbal combat with not only Norton as a figure of white local authority, but also the institutional authority rooted in supercargo and the rest of the institutions attempting to suppress their knowledge and information. This was the verbal combat that the grandfather advised. It is always important to go back to the text and see exactly what the grandfather is telling him, because he's not telling him to be subservient, he's telling him to signify. He told the invisible man to signify, agree them to death and destruction. He could have just said, son, be subservient. Just do what white people say. He could have said, if you ever get into a car with a white man who is a trustee, you should probably try to impress them. That's not what he says, because he's a vet and a spy, and he's in a battle. And a part of that battle is the ability to signify.